Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Wolok, my partner in crime, as always, Vasili, Gianarakos. Vasili, what's going on, brother?
Doing well. Flyers coming off a 5-2 win against the Kraken. So
Yes,
they're
sir.
doing well also. Back-to-back wins, actually. So a lot to get into just in terms of what happened in that Minnesota game and Kraken game and lineup switching once again. So just a lot to tackle, right? Like obviously, Vladar playing well, new lines that are all kind of forming together and looking pretty good just in terms of the play and the chemistry. So yeah, I'm excited just to kind of dive into that. But how are you doing, Yariv?
I'm doing well, man, and yeah, we got a lot to talk about for that segment. I will do a screen share with Puckpedia. I've been enjoying those. I think it makes it easier for us to talk about the lineup when there's a visual in front of us as well. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Things are good right now in Flyers land. And considering they lost the game against Carolina on like a weird technicality, they're in a wild card spot right now. They would be at least tied for third in the division. It's pretty early in the season, so it doesn't mean much. They would be tied with the
Yeah.
Penguins.
I would say
Um,
though, like a 3-2-1 start, just when you take into account that you're, taking on Florida twice, Carolina once, Winnipeg, Minnesota, like that's not too shabby, right? Like if we
Kraken are the worst team they played so far.
Yeah, exactly.
Who were winning?
That was probably their easiest opponent last night, and they've started off pretty well too. Like they're 3-1-2 after the loss last evening. So it's not like they, have been like 0-5 or something to start or anything like that. They've
Yeah,
been holding their own as well. So I think it's a pretty good start, right? Like if you're looking at where the Flyers could have been, like these are all teams that were well above them in the standings last season. So it could have started off a lot worse. So I think you take
yeah.
the points and run and then kind of see if you can build off this going ahead, right?
Yeah, it is interesting to note though that Florida, since losing to the Flyers, have lost three afterwards. So they're 0-4 in their last four games, which is interesting. They are missing their two best players. Having said that, I would imagine they are still a playoff team even without them. So it'll be interesting because they will get Matt Tkachuk. What is it, after the Olympics, I believe, maybe
Something like
slightly
that.
before.
Yeah.
So he should be a humongous boost for them. I don't anticipate that Barkov will be coming back for them, but trades are always on the table, especially when you got a player of that caliber on LTIR. So it's gonna be a very long and interesting season, and that's kind of the theme of this episode. Is the and we've been saying it since the before the season started, and everybody saw the lines and how everybody freaked out about opening night lineup. That patience is a virtue for a reason. Um, and that's definitely going to be today's theme. Before we get into our topics, let's do our usual spiel. Just want to remind everybody to please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to get notified when we release these episodes. As we typically do it either like Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when there's a Flyers game. But some days we have to kind of throw off our schedule, so the notification bell definitely helps. When our episodes come out, typically at night, the night of a recording, and we almost never record on a night of a Flyers game, so that could also kind of help you. For the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes, give us a rating and a follow as well. These are the best way to support our show, so make sure to check that out and make sure to support us that way. We humbly appreciate it. For those who are listening for the first time or have been listening and aren't doing that stuff, again, tremendous help to us. Okay. Sponsors. First sponsor, Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Make sure to go get yourself a cheesesteak from Jim's. They have one of the best, if not the best, cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Make sure to go get yourself a cheesesteak from Jim's at 4th and South. Also, Summit Public Adjusters, 215-752-0560. Go to them for your insurance adjustment needs. They will help facilitate the process between you and your insurance company and make sure you get the best claim possible. Again, Summit Public Adjusters, 215-752-0560. 60. And also want to give a brief shout out to our partner, sportspider.com. Guys, if you're tired of searching multiple websites for sports news, sportspider.com has you covered. They collect the latest articles, videos, and podcasts from around the web and organize them by your favorite teams. If you want to stay as up to date on our Philadelphia Flyers or the NHL in general, hit the link in the description and check out sportsbetter.com. Again, the link is in the description of both the audio and video versions of this show, and our stuff is always pinned at the top. So check out sportsbetter.com. All right, let's get right into it. So I guess there's no real news as of right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the Flyers' current status, where they stand in the the standings, what kind of happened recently. Then we're gonna go through, let's call it a performance review. I don't know exactly. We're just gonna go through the lineup and talk about it. We enjoy doing that in general. We'll talk about the forwards, the defense, then the goaltending situation. All positives, a lot of positives at least, not all positive, but a lot of positives to talk about throughout the entire lineup. And then the second half, we're going to talk a little bit more about special teams. We did that last week, but now we have kind of an update on special teams. And then we're going to end with a little bit of fandom stuff and a little bit of prospect updates. And we'll talk about the young guys there at the end. Okay. Flyers' current status. Said earlier, right now they are in a wild card spot. They have started the season 3-2-1. Generally, considering the competition, as Vasili was saying, that is, I think we can all be pretty happy with that. Even the Kraken coming in, they were at least having a good start to their season. They're kind of a meddling team, a lot like how the Flyers have been, but they have improved. They added some players in the off season. And I will say, like, as I was watching the game against the Kraken, I just kept going, run the score up, and we were up like 1-0. And I just had a feeling, I'm like, Flyers are definitely going to beat this team. And it's like we were talking about, it's so good that they started off with tough competition. Because then when you play somebody like the Kraken and you take that same energy that you were giving against teams that are kind of favorites to win the cup, again, in Florida's case, it just, you really notice the difference, the level of competition. I'm like, oh, this is a game the Flyers can win. And you just saw the way they were kind of rolling and flying, the way the offense kind of opened up a lot. I think a lot of that was a consequence of just the team they were playing against. They were nowhere near as good defensively as the last, at least three of the four teams they played. So there were definitely more opportunities offensively. The offense has kind of evolved. The new lines are really coming together. And obviously a lot of it's being led offensively just by the energy of Owen Tippett. I do want to talk about Tippett in general, but just so far, so good. There's been some improvements in the power play. Penalty kills has its ups and its downs so far, but some of it is more just the amount of penalties that the team has had. But generally, I feel pretty good about where the Flyers stand. I think it, like you were saying, if we had to script this, sure, we would love to be 4-2. But if you would have told people at the beginning of the season that after this run, the Flyers would be 3-2-1. I think generally people will be pretty happy. And considering that there's scoring coming from all different avenues and several different guys have had, first star type of, caliber performances, got to feel pretty good about it. And then the icing on the cake being the goaltending has not been an utter disaster. And that also has been really nice. So what are your thoughts about where the Flyers currently stand in the standings?
Yeah, I think it's all positive, right? Like there's not really many negatives to take away from the first you know, week, essentially week and a half
Yeah.
of the season so far. Like I was saying beforehand, with the level of competition they were facing, I wasn't even expecting them to really get these amount of wins that they've kind of pulled out, right? So it's almost like they're kind of exceeding my expectations just based off the early season, early schedule. I think the main thing just coming out of last night's game, essentially, is the forward lines for me. They look like they're more on the same page in the sense that guys seem like there's more chemistry. Obviously, it's very early in, the life cycle of these lines. It's only one game, but it's a great start, right? To see that, they put these combinations together. There's some familiarity with these, lines from the preseason as well. So guys aren't completely new to it, and we kind of see it translate into the victory last night. Offense was looking good. Defense had their role to play as well. Just certain penalty killing moments and things like that. Vladar, some really key saves, like he made a breakaway stop in the game that really kind of could have turned things Seattle's way. And just the momentum swing in the game in general, where Seattle has an opportunity to score a couple of goals on their power play, and the Flyers kind of turn things around right after that. And are able to score a goal of their own, right? So I think for Philadelphia so far, like it's been good showings. really the only game where it's been a complete dud for them at this point has been that Winnipeg game. And that was even kind of very disjointed in the sense that both teams weren't at their best, right? Really low shot volume totals. So far so good, right? Like you're looking at the penalty kill right now. They're 10th in the league, 83.3%. The power play is not last in the league. It's actually 22nd, 15.8%. So if you're looking at special teams too, those indicators are up from last season just based off where they finished. Dan Vladar as well, right? Like he's kind of so far cemented himself as the goalie who's looked better out of him and Ersson. Over a week and a half, still a very small sample size, but I think the main thing is you have some goaltender out of both of those guys kind of stepping up, taking the reins, putting their best foot forward. So I think that's gonna really be useful for competition moving ahead because there'll be a point in the season where Ersson's play is going to rise above Vladar's as well, right? Like usually with goalies that are kind of getting a 50 split rotation, that's what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I think early on it's good signs. I think the main thing too is we're seeing the level of competition that they faced early on, like with the Florida, Carolina, Minnesota, the Wild. You kind of see that translate into that Seattle game where they looked really good against a team that isn't in that upper echelon. And I think we talked about it last week, right? Like when you're facing those teams that are really at that higher level of competition or demanding so much out of themselves every night, you kind of have to rise to that expectation if you want to hang in those games. And we saw the Flyers hang in those games for a week against those teams that were a lot, better and higher in the standings, coming over from last season. So I think that's kind of paid off when you see them face a team like Seattle. It's more middle of the pack. We kind of see the Flyers dominate, right?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I'm like excited to see the preseason get a little shortened and the regular season because there is a case to be made that they play too many games that mean nothing,
Yeah.
and that's not a great preparation for the season. You're better off just like make them regular season games and just give guys more games to play, that matter, games to play that matter. It's the same amount of games you're going to be playing throughout the year, but more games that actually
Yeah.
matter.
Well, it's tough too if you're a veteran to prepare, right? Because like this doesn't matter, so you want to get yourself warmed up,
Right.
but
And you
you
don't want to
also
get injured.
want to draw a fine line between like, ooh, should I go in the corner, and really try to win this puck battle, or should I be cognizant of the fact that this guy could staple me into the boards head
Right.
first and I could end my season. So there's like a fine line of,
Yes.
plays you want to make and not. So
Yeah, and we saw that with Barkov, right? Like, unfortunately, didn't even get to play in the season, got injured in the preseason for the entire season.
yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the icing on the cake of all this is that it's a brand new coaching staff, and they're clearly learning a new system. Like the shot blocking is different, the approach in the zone, the attack style is different, and yet they've come out on top. And there is especially when it's like mid-season, when teams usually switch coaches, there's always like this kind of burst of energy that the team gets. But this is a little different, right? You're coming in, everybody's kind of starting, from the same starting point of like, this is my coach for the year, right? Same mindset. So it's always a little bit different, when it's like an off-season hire.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it could be a little messy. Like we saw with uh, Tortorella, who was here. His first year wasn't that good. The second year, the team really understood his system. They executed on it a lot better. And the fact that we're seeing these kind of results so early in the season, I think is very encouraging. So let's go through the lineup. I'm going to share my screen, which for some reason I always struggle finding the button. I don't know why, because I've
Blame
done it
Zoom.
so
Blame
many
Zoom,
times.
Yariv.
Yeah, blame myself. Fall on the sword. Okay, so these are the current lineup as where it start. We'll start with the offense and we'll go unit by unit. And obviously the first line. Oh, I realized this is not even accurate. This is old. Look at me, not completely missing that.
Hey, that's
Um,
okay. We're on the fly here. Don't
yeah, we're
worry.
on the fly. I like it. Yeah, quick line change. So yeah, Owen Tippett, Sean Couturier, and Travis Konechny. So this obviously came together because a big reason was because Mitchkov has not been playing his best hockey. They kind of rotated Owen Tippett, who has been playing really well, onto the top line. And last night they have a very successful night, right? I guess the three of them combined had several points, right? Owen Tippett had 2 goals, Konechny had a goal, Couturier had an assist, right? It was successful season. Right now, like Tippett's, near a goal a game. Konechny at least has like 3 points on the season in 6 games. It's not too bad. A little slow for him, but starting to heat up a little bit. And then Sean Couturier is above a point per game with 7 points in 6 games. So like as a group, it's been a pretty successful. They are looking like the definitive top line as of right now. But remember, the season is a fluid thing. And, I do want to talk about Owen Tippett. And obviously, the narrative right now, and you see it on Twitter, is like Owen Tippett's proven people wrong and all that. The other night when he didn't take that shot against um, against the Jets. He was coming down the middle. He had a line to take a forehand shot. He kind of made a last second decision, decided to go backhand, threw a screen, still got the shot on net as a backhand, and I thought it was a pretty justifiable play. Like, sure, part of me goes, well, why didn't you just shoot it? But then when I look at it, I'm like, okay, he's trying to be more deceptive. He's a talented player. He figures, hey, he's expecting that shot. I'm playing Connor Hellebuck. Like, there's no screen in front of him. There's a good chance he's going to save this. So he tries to go backhand. Hellebuck is that good of a goalie. He had a great performance against the Flyers. He just kind of came in the other way and made the save anyway. And the amount of hate that he was getting online, calling him low IQ, just completely diminishing this guy's value to absolutely nothing. When if you really watch that game, and it was credited by Rick Tocchet, I heard Charlie O'Connor say the same thing. It's like guy was the best forward on the ice for the Flyers the entire game, and the hate that he was receiving, absolutely ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I had a little comment where I was like, "Hey, pick your battles. Like that is what you're gonna freaking lose your mind over." And every year, there's a whipping boy. Every year, and I'll tell you guys, as somebody who's been watching this team hardcore, obviously, and Vasili obviously is hardcore as well, but like nerd level, I have a podcast. Every single year, there is a new whipping boy, and 80% of the time, it's completely unjustified. Like that number might even be. I'll even go back to Andrew McDonald. Quite frankly, Andrew McDonald would be on this team, and he would be better as a bottom pairing defenseman than what we've experienced so far in the bottom pairing.
Well, yeah, probably. I
Yeah,
mean, there's
just
always going to be a whipping boy, right? Like it just is what it is,
yeah,
unfortunately.
but it shouldn't be because especially in a case like this, completely unjustified. Like this is a guy who put up what
Yeah.
like 70 points over or 70 goals over the past 3 years. This is not like bottom of the barrel level of talent. And to lose your mind over one shot attempt that didn't go 100% the way you wanted,
Yeah.
I just thought it was ridiculous. And
Uh
and I think the way he's played and responded, I'm sorry, let me finish up. I know I'm kind of dragging on. The way he has responded has been excellent. And I think he's been good pretty much. He was like average in preseason, like getting ready like a vet, and has been good pretty much the whole season. And it's funny from like, the start of the season, it was like, oh, he has no place on this team to now being like he's driving the offense. I just love that type of stuff, especially for a guy in his mid 20s, drafted 10th overall and has a long term contract with the Flyers.
Yeah, no, he's really responded well, like 5 goals in 6 games. I mean, I think a lot of the criticism of Tippett kind of comes from frustration from fans. Like they see so much there in terms of the talent and the skill, and they don't see him always put it together. And I think he becomes easy to pick on because of that, because you see certain places in the game where maybe he should have, you saw him use his flash of speed or the way he cuts the net in a certain way, and you wonder why is he doing it on this play. But sometimes to your point, right? Like there's a predictability factor. You don't want to do the exact same thing on every single play because it's going to become pretty easy for a team to defend you. But though I see the point, like in the sense of like, oh, okay, use the speed, use the shot, which I think he has been using a lot more of this season. And I think he's been a lot more accurate with the shooting so far this season. I think a clear indicator too, like of Tippett, kind of driving the play and kind of being the motor for the offense early on when there's been some other guys struggling that we weren't really prepared for, I would say maybe is the best word, right? Like I don't think people were looking to start the season and see Konecny and Michkov kind of struggle the way they have in terms of the point production. Tippett's kind of been a guy to, almost
Step up.
satisfy that and
Sure.
step up.
Good word.
Zegras as well too. Like I'm on Money Puck right now, and they have stats in terms of like expected goals for lines. So if you look at their expected goals for percentage for all lines, offensive lines in the NHL, this is a minimum ice time of 10 minutes for a line being together. The Flyers have two offensive forward lines that are in the top 27 in the league in terms of expected goals for percentage. And right now, those lines are the newly put together Tippett Couture Konechny line. After last game, they have a 71.4 expected goals for percentage. And then the other line is 27th in the league, and that is Zegras, Dvorak, Tippett, and their expected goals for percentage is also 71.4%. So basically tied. But to me, what that points out, and it kind of expands on your idea, Yariv, is that Tippett's really been driving play. He's really probably been the best forward to start off in the first 6 games here. And the fact that it's both lines showing up, with top expected goals for percentage in the league, top 27, and he's the only mainstay on both those lines. It's pretty accurate to me, right? That he's been, their best player to this point. It's kind of a pretty key indicator that no other players carried over other than him. And it just shows that when he's been on the ice this season, typically the Flyers are getting the better of the chances, the better of the puck control, the better of, the shots on net versus the other team, and controlling the puck in general. So I just think it's a great start for a guy that was getting really criticized this offseason. A lot of people calling to be traded. And you have to wonder if he kind of heard some of that. And it's
Oh,
almost,
he
a bit of a
definitely did.
chip on the shoulder in the sense of, hey, like, let me show you what I can really do. We're still kind of waiting for that elusive, like 30 goal breakthrough season. But so far, so good, right? He's on pace to smash that. So we'll see kind of how he continues. But I really like it. And just to kind of jump off and look at like some of the other lines,
Well,
I
hold
thought
on,
last,
before we move on to the lines, let me just finish the Owen Tippett thing. And I'm sorry to cut you off. I do want to talk about the other lines, and I
yeah,
don't want to jump around too much. The Owen Tippett thing, like it's not exclusive to Philadelphia to do this,
every team
right?
does this. Every team
Yes,
has their whipping boy and fan base that's going to
absolutely.
call somebody out,
And
right?
look, we did it to Shane Gossesbear. I didn't, but people wanted him out of town, run out of town. He is now a 55 to 60 point defenseman, still at the age of 32. One of the best offensive defensemen in the league. People just couldn't handle it. They're always looking for a scapegoat for team problems. And that's what bothered me the most is that like they're frustrated with the team, so they pick a guy to attack. And the most public version of this was Mitch Marner. And and again, people could say whatever they want to me. It doesn't matter if people don't agree with me. They were frustrated with their playoff success. They took it out on someone. They didn't take it out on Matthews. They didn't take it out on Nylander. They didn't take it out on Riley. They took it out on Mitch Marner. Arguably their second best player. I guess they got three guys there, but or did. Now they don't have Marner, and they lost a couple games to Detroit to start the season. They're not having their best start. Doesn't mean they're not going to improve, but their team is worse this year. Let's be honest. They can cope with it, but they're worse without Marner. It didn't improve them. It didn't improve them to shit on a guy, till he didn't want to return anymore. And we have to be careful. That doesn't mean you can't boo the team or state dissatisfaction,
I guess,
but
yeah.
I saw an unreasonable level of hate with like just one play, and it
Uh,
was like this guy's the worst, and I
no,
was like,
here, fair
okay,
enough. I
I was
will
like, this
say
is getting
that,
out of
like,
control.
as a fan, like, these guys are real individuals, real human beings. Obviously, we got to be careful what we say. Like, you know, some of these guys go online, they read some of these criticisms, and it can affect them and impact them.
It does.
I would say though, like, as a professional athlete, you shouldn't be taking into consideration what anybody online has to say. You're the top 1% of your profession. Anybody who's commenting online has
I
no
agree.
idea what they're talking about in any regard, in my opinion. But
I
yeah.
I agree, but I do go back. I wrote an article. I'll bring this up again. I wrote an article for Philly Sports Network years ago about the power of positivity. And I told my sister before I published it, I was like, I will get so much hate for this article. She's like, no way, this is a great article. It's so positive. I was like, you don't, you don't understand. I got like endless amounts of hate. But the thought behind it is again, you actually help the team more when you're positive. We know this because it's proven in science with
Yeah.
plants growing. If you talk
Positivity is a
negative,
good thing for
yeah, if
sure.
you talk positive to plants, they are shown to flourish. If you talk negatively to them, they are shown to wither away. Humans are very
Yeah.
similar to that. It doesn't mean you can't be critical when teams deserve it. Bad turnovers, all that. In the moment, be like, "Hey, that was dumb." I get that. But there was like an attack on Owen Tippett. Like, we are going to run this guy out of town. And I know because people are now responding the opposite way. I'm seeing a lot of like, oh, eat it haters, like that type of thing. And I'm trying to stay out of that, but it is very real that you were not actually like helping them. And I do think there's like this weird attempt, and I think it's a little bit of a group think of like, oh, we're gonna run this guy out of town. We're going to essentially
Yeah.
complain about him so much until he's gone.
As a
And
player, though, you can't let that affect you or
I,
impact you. Like,
I,
I would just
I,
laugh, to be
look,
honest.
I don't disagree, but the
I would just
reality
say,
is,
hey, look at all these guys on the internet that don't make millions of dollars
but like,
commenting and talking about me.
I
Oh
agree,
my, I should really care about it.
I agree, but that's not human, right? The human thing is like
Maybe.
you can ignore
I'm just
hundreds of
speaking
them,
from
and
I'm
then
just speaking from my perspective. Like if I was making millions of dollars playing a sport that I loved and I saw a bunch of people online talking about me, I would be laughing about it because I'd be saying, "Hey, I'm making millions of dollars playing a game. You guys are
well,
online talking about something that I'm doing. Why should I even be enticing this or caring about it, right?" So that's the way I look at it.
yeah, I think that's fair. And then, but then there's like those reality moments where Andrew McDonald shows up to the home opener and gets booed in the opening announcements of players, by his own
Yeah.
fans for the open. It's just like those moments I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with booing the team when they're getting trapped in their zone or criticizing a team. All that is 100% warranted. But this was like an attack on Owen Tippett. He didn't even do anything wrong and he was getting attacked. There was like a gear up to be like we're gonna run this guy out of town until he gets traded, and give me a bag of pucks for him. I've heard that we did it with Braden Shen, who went on to win a championship. We did it with Craig Berube, the coach. We do it with a lot of people, and I just don't find it very effective. And I think it's like a hive mind effect. Anyway, okay, I'm off my diatribe with Owen Tippett. I'm very thrilled that because again, one thing Vasili and I have talked about, when do players usually hit their prime, Vasili?
Between, 26, 27, 28, 25
How,
and 30
how
typically.
old is Owen Tippett?
I think he's 26 or
He's
27.
26 years old. Just wanted to point that out for all those people who think
Well,
that
yeah, he's not
players
at
are
the
in their
best.
prime.
He's not at the best yet in terms of what's to come, right? Like
Right.
he's still
We
very much entering his prime, just entered it. So we'll see kind of how he
yeah,
progresses, but it's a great start.
yeah.
Just in terms of like the other lines, I
Yeah,
was
go
just
for it. Sorry.
mentioning that for me, like it's been the most complete game with this lineup, right?
Yeah,
Just in terms
100%.
of being on the same page, looking like guys are in the right positions, kind of knowing where to go, knowing where to be. Just a lot more chemistry, right? Like, and I think not to say that we were kind of calling for these lines before, but we were very interested to see Michkov, Zegras, Dvorak together. Interested to see Couture, Konechny, Tippett together. We already know about, Forrester, Cates, Brink, obviously. And then Grabenkin, Luchenko, Hathaway's kind of like your 3B type of line where it's not really like a fourth line per se. Traditionally, it can actually, create some offense for you, have some pretty slick plays. Like we saw Grabenkin make a couple nice plays again last night.
Hmm.
So I just think like with these four lines, we've seen the most chemistry. Guys look like they're on the same page. They look like they know where to be. Specifically, like I even on the Konechny goal, like the one goal that he had last night, I believe was the fifth goal. Like it wasn't even his line mates out with him, but they just seemed connected as well. Like
Yeah,
Michkov made a really nice play, was able to find
Zamula.
I think it was Zamula, yeah,
Yeah,
and then he passed it across to
beautiful pass by Z.
yeah, exactly, to Konechny and he taps it in. But that just to my point of like proving, guys just seem more connected. Not even the same guys really playing on a line consistently, but able to find each other in the right spots.
Great point. Yeah.
It was a point night last night, right? Like you had York 3 points. Zegras, a couple of assists as well. Zamula, with 2 assists, I believe.
No, he had one. They took it off in the end.
Oh, they took it off in the end. Okay,
Yeah,
either way, but still,
it went to York.
a lot of guys getting points. Really a night that, I mean, most guys are going to say is probably the best game they've probably played in terms of a complete game this season, right? So
Yeah,
something to build off of moving
absolutely.
ahead. But what do you think, like, of just what you've seen from the forward lines, like anything in particular?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was nervous about Zegras and Michkov and TK playing together. I was too worried that that line would get hemmed in. But again, we talked about it, right? Like mixing in a guy like Dvorak, a guy like Cates, a guy like Forrester in there definitely helps. I think at 5-on-5, Michkov still does not look 100% like himself, though we saw the closest version of that. You were really hoping that top line could work out with him on there, but he hasn't had it this year so far, right? He's been out of position at certain times. He's made risky plays, and he still did one last night, like making passes at a blue line where I'm like, dump it, and then he like tries to go cross ice. I'm like, and he knows he did it wrong. He's like shaking his head immediately, like, why'd I do that, right? So he's like almost like this beginning has been his preseason in a little bit, and it kind of goes to what Tocchet was saying. He's kind of like working through. He's a little behind the ball. It does seem that way, but I love the idea of putting a guy who's like struggling with another guy who like hasn't fully found himself yet, and then the stability of a line. So it's like having him and Zegras and Michkov together, or Dvorak, Michkov, and Zegras together. I like it. I think it still has a lot of good vibes there. And there's also a chance that like maybe we swap Dvorak and Couturier in game or something, and they try different combinations. And we saw the other combination of Zegras with Michkov and Gabrankin for a little bit, which is what I loved about him playing around with all these lines in preseason. He has all these like fallback combinations that he can mix in. He's like, okay, we're up 5-2. Let me get Gabrankin some more ice time. I'll put him out there with Michkov and Zegras. They looked good at times of preseason, and I really like that. The Forrester Cates line and Brink line. I mean, first of all, Brink never stops moving his feet. That's first and foremost.
He's a motor out
Dude,
there, yeah.
the difference that makes in your game, and Matvey Michkov, you're not listening to this, but I would assume they're telling him this. Like, he has been so much more effective because his feet never stop moving, ever. He is going from play to play. He's coming into the offensive zone with speed every time. And I love the way Brink has looked. Forrester to me is just continuing where he left off.
Looking
Injury
even
aside,
better. Yeah.
yeah, that's the crazy part, right? He was injured all off season. Doesn't matter. Looks like a stud. And Noah Cates is like, I just love that player. And he's like evolving into Sean Couturier at this point,
Well,
right?
that line to me, like, it's just tenacious.
They're
Like
like a
every time,
yeah,
yeah,
tenacious. Or it's the right word.
well-oiled machine for sure. But
Tenacious is the
like
right word.
every time they're on the ice, like if they don't, first of
Attack.
all, if they have the puck, they're cycling it around, and then that cycle is basically opening up the defenses in their lanes to
Yep.
bring the puck to the net. And then if they don't have the puck, they're
They're
like you
hunting it.
said, hounding the puck,
Yeah.
forechecking, loose sticks. Their sticks are always active, trying to like
Yeah.
get reach in there and kind of cause a turnover, some sort of loose puck. So they're just that line that it's like a typical shutdown line where, at least for me, it looks like Tocchet the last couple of games, he's trying to get them out there against all the other teams' top lines. And
Yes.
when you're at home, that's a benefit that, you can
You
kind
can
of
do
do that
that.
in terms of the
Yeah.
matchups. But even when they're not at home, like I imagine he's going to try to chase that on the road too, where he can, because it opens up your top two lines so much more. And you can really trust them to play against those upper echelon lines, right? So
Yeah.
it's a luxury for sure to keep those three together. And I think the main thing that is coming out of the last game, and then these new line combinations looking so good, the real key is, with these combos looking so good now, and that third line staying together, you're not having to kind of like put a Forster up on the first line or put Kate somewhere else or put Brink. Like, you can afford to keep that luxury, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's a key goal, right? Like, I think for them and the coaching staff, who knows how long they were going to continue to keep that third line together if the first two lines
We're
were
just a
not
mess,
working,
right?
right? So I think now that we're seeing the first two lines, both of them start to kind of get things going in terms of the Couturier line and the Michkov Zegras line, you can kind of warrant keeping that third line together. So I think as long as those two top lines, stay pretty productive and consistent, we'll see that Cates Brink Forster line stick, which is, I
Yeah.
think, if you're looking at overall success for the team, that's probably the best way to go about it if you have three lines rolling and looking, pretty good. So
Yeah, and I think that even the fact that Dvorak is listed as the center, I don't even know if that's actually accurate, because I actually am taking Taka at his word here. There is this kind of swap
they're
mentality.
switching. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
flopping back and
and
forth.
well, and this is the thing is like everything is a very fluid situation with this team, right? You got a brand new coach, you got a bunch of young players, they're the third youngest team in the league. There's nothing that says that he can't ease Zegras back into the middle as the coach trusts him more, right? Works with him more. He gets better at face-offs. Maybe he gets better at the defensive game. Like it doesn't mean just because he's playing like some of 50% of the shifts at wing or starts off by not taking the draw because they want to win the draw because Dvorak is much better on draws than Zegras. It's like that is okay as long as it leads to success. And right now the success has been there and guys are rolling. And it's even though Michkov has been somewhat struggling, even though he's kind of picking up a little bit here. It's a really good sign when the rest of the team is going well and things are starting to trend in the right direction, right? Like TK wasn't playing poorly. He wasn't playing as bad as Michkov was, but he hasn't been producing. Now he started producing. His analytics were through the roof last night. And then let's get to the fourth line because you said it best, right? It's not really like on paper, it's not a fourth line, right? Like just
It's
the
not a traditional fourth line in
yeah, it's a
terms of like
skilled fourth line. But there's a lot of talk about first of all, let's talk about Gurbankin. The guy's obviously like he is the
he's
10th
not a
cog.
fourth liner.
Well, he's
Yeah.
the 10th cog, right? Somebody goes
Sure.
down from the top nine, he's obviously being moved up the lineup, right? That's like first and foremost. You can already
Yeah.
see
And even
Tocchet's tempted to do that.
to your point too, like I just think he's not a fourth line player. Like I think
No, he's not. He's got skill.
he's better than a fourth liner.
Yes.
He's just, in a spot in a situation where these three lines are working so well at this point after this game where they're not going to want to split it up. So you're just by nature you got to kind of keep this fourth line together,
Yeah,
right?
and it's interesting that he continuously pairs Gurbankin with Luchenko. That it's not like Luchenko is playing with Delorier and Gurbankin is playing with Obels. I think that's very intentional, right?
Two
And
skilled guys together.
right, yeah, exactly. Like he's trying to get the scoring touch out of those guys. Luchenko finally took a shot on net, which is good.
Actually, round of applause for him.
Yeah, he did have a really nice setup. It was a beautiful three-way kind of setup between, Luchenko on the back check, grabs the puck, passes it to Hathaway, Hathaway in the middle, Gurbankin who just misses the net. But, there's some chemistry now forming there. The thing with Luchenko is what's interesting about him, he's getting a lot of like he needs to be sent back to juniors, he needs to be sent back to juniors, and I do think there's a lot of validity to that because at a certain point you're like, okay, the kid's playing like 9 minutes, 8 minutes a night. We want him to be playing like 19 minutes a night. Same reason why Andre is not being rotated out of the press box and being played, in my opinion, in the minors. It's like you want the younger guys to get reps. But the thing that's weird about Luchenko is like the guy's good defensively, NHL level already. So like he's better defensively probably than Obels, right? He's not as good on the draw as Obels, and he's not as big. But like he does have value as a fourth line center. That is kind of like the weird position. I do think ultimately if this continues, barring like serious injuries in the top nine, there's a good chance that he's going to be sent back, right? Like they're going to want him playing. But I do think he's done a pretty admirable job. And I also think he's coming more and more out of his shell every game. It just goes back to what I was talking about in preseason. Gabrankin knows he belongs in the NHL. He does not question that. You saw the fight that he had, right? The back. I loved that. Everybody loved that. I even saw Hathaway go up to him in the box.
Oh yeah,
Afterwards and
what a
say
great
like a
play.
little, yeah, like say a little something to him, obviously. And it was just like a veteran move by Gabrankin. Luchenko he's kind of like I don't you can tell he's not 100% certain he belongs there right now. Like he's
He
ready.
has certain flashes where he's looking good, but
Yeah,
then there's certain plays where he's tentative, and that's your point where it
yeah,
doesn't look like, he's very seamlessly like integrating, right? Like
yeah.
he's
And
looking good, but sometimes he's looking out of place. I honestly think it's tough for him because this is the least amount of ice time he's probably ever gotten
so true.
his whole life.
Yeah, that's a
Like
great point.
Well, I mean, his average ice time per game right now is 8:58. There's only one game he got over 10 minutes, and that was in the Winnipeg game, and he got 10:40. And I mean, you can kind of figure out why he got the most ice time in that game. It's because they were pretty much out of it by the third period.
I
So the coach is kind of just like, hey, let's get the kid some more ice. But that's three games, right? The Seattle game last night, 8:43. The Florida game where they won 5-2, 8:49. Then the loss to Carolina, 7:40. So I think if it's just at this point, like the rest of the trial, he's consistently getting under that 10-minute mark. It's going to be tough to, warrant keeping him around just for long-term development,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think the only way he gets kept, and I've been waiting for this, is do they rotate him into the PK? Like, is there an opportunity to replace TK with Luchenko? Not every time, but try Luchenko with Couturier, right?
We'll see. Yeah.
Because he can take the face off if Couturier gets waived, right, out of the face off. And he also is very fast, faster than Konechny even. So it still brings a little bit of that offense, but it needs to come with him showing the confidence. So if he doesn't get him increased ice time, I think we can be pretty sure that they're giving him the 10 games, they're playing him, they're developing him internally, and then they're going to send him over. I did see a comment online, can they send him over to Europe? We brought that up over
That'd
the
probably be
summer.
better for his development,
Oh,
but
definitely. He should
at
be playing
least
against men
yeah, but at this
or
point in the
college.
season, it's a pretty tough thing to arrange. Like you have to go overseas, find some living arrangements. He doesn't speak those languages over there. Like I can't
Yeah,
imagine that's gonna happen
I
at
mean,
this.
you could potentially do like the Swedish league where most of those players know English.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I
just mean
mean?
in the sense that like all these seasons now on these teams, it's all underway. Like if the time
Yeah.
was to do this, it would have been in the summer. Like there might not even be roster
No,
spots for some
yeah.
of these teams, right? So
I think they're trying to hold him as long as they can, give him some
yeah,
time back in juniors. Maybe Guelph trades him, and then
hoping
he
that
he goes.
Guelph trades him.
Yeah,
Like
and then he goes plays in World Juniors, right, where he'll play a bigger role there against tougher competition. It
yeah.
just sucks because that rule and Burker Catton just got his first game. They kept talking about it on TV like I cared that much, even though I do like him. It just it's going to be a weird development track with Luchenko, not just because of like his readiness, it's also because of his age. Because like he's young for his draft year. He wasn't like a Schaefer that was, first overall pick guy. He was a guy who needed development to come into the NHL. So it's going to be interesting. But I will say this before we move on to the defense: the best version of the lineup is with him in it, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
so far. Yeah.
But
Though I will say, like, I think Abel's, if you had
yes,
Grabankin, Abel's, Hathaway would be a similarly like effective line. So
I in a different way, but I think Abel's can still be effective. I think obviously the least effective version of the lineup is with Delorier in it. Sorry, Delorier, I do like you as a person. But what also intensifies Luchenko going back is that there are several names in the minors. We're going to talk about them later that are having a really good start to their season. And there's going to be room for a call up from those guys as well. So you have to kind of keep that, and some of Luchenko's minutes, they could go to Gubrankin in the short term, right? Like little shifts that Luchenko's getting go to Gubrankin. It just becomes tough when you're building a new, you're taking over a team, you're trying to teach a new system, and you're trying to integrate two young guys, and you're missing Ristolainen from your lineup. So you have a bottom pairing that you weren't even 100% sure of. There's just a lot of moving parts right now. And Luchenko being in there makes it a little tougher on Luchenko specifically than it should be. So we'll see what happens. But I think we both agree that if his ice time stays the way that it is, it's not looking great for the long haul. Let's just say that. Okay, let's get to the defense. So thank God Cam York is back. Because
well, yeah, the team's been way better, right?
the defense just fit. Even though I will say Sealer did a very admirable job in the top pairing. He's been very good this year. Like really good. Like back to the year that he got that big contract from the Flyers. Like last year he was still good. This year I think he's been better. He's had a better start to the year. He's looked incredibly effective at his role, just pure defensive defenseman. Looked really good. Been very happy with him. I love that York and Sanheim are together. But part of me is kind of like almost wish that like York could help another defensive pairing because I feel like wherever Sanheim is, it's a good defensive pairing. Like it doesn't matter. Sanheim has looked probably the best he's ever looked in his career right now. And that's
Well, he
saying a
just looks
lot.
confident. He just looks confident in his
He's a
abilities.
machine, dude, that
He
guy.
knows what he knows, what he can and can't do out there. Yeah, I just think York coming back, it really solidifies the defense. You can see a night and day just between like the team and the way they've kind of played. Versus when York was not in the lineup to him being in the lineup these last three games. I just think they look quicker in terms of moving the puck up the ice. You have guys playing in the spots that they should be in, not over their heads, right?
Hmm.
Like I think there was a hesitancy a little bit when York was not in the lineup. There was guys kind of focused more on their own defensive end of the ice because they realized that they were shorthanded in a sense on defense. So you're not always executing in the same way maybe that Tocchet is wanting you to do because you want to focus on your own end first. So York coming back, I think it's allowing them to kind of play their system, really focus on offense a little bit more, kind of making sure they're breaking plays out of the defensive zone quicker, cleaner versus just, surviving, right? Because I think that was
Hmm.
a little bit of it, playing those upper echelon teams early on. You're shorthanded on defense. It's kind of just like, let's try to survive as much as we can, keep these games competitive, things like
And they
that.
did.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and they did, right? And that was the goal, right? Like get through those games. York comes back, then we can kind of hit the ground running. And it seems like they kind of have been so far. I just think the team's looking more in sync, and it does start with the defense because the defense is outletting that puck up ice, right? So if they're not able to outlet that puck up ice effectively, it's gonna in turn, disrupt how the offense is playing, how they're going to enter the offensive zone, how they're going to create offensive opportunities. So it's all
I
together, right?
mean,
Like you got to play as a
analytically,
five. Yeah, you got to play as a five-man unit, and right now they look really good as a
yeah.
five-man unit.
And the numbers
York
support it too.
definitely like York too. Like it's not like he's come back and they're easing him into it. Like
No, he went right back in the fire.
yeah, like he's 23-30 time on ice per game against Winnipeg 22-30 against Minnesota 26-10 against Seattle 21-49. So he's playing a ton of minutes. I don't have Sanheim's log, but let me
I know
pull
he's
it up.
averaging just under 27 minutes a night. He's number one in the league.
Yeah, he's like you're making my point for me, right? Like a ton of ice time. He's killing it in terms of the average ice time, but yeah, he's on right now, in the six games, he's averaging 26-44. So that's a
Yeah.
shit ton of ice, but he's handling it really well. He's got 4 points in the six games, so the points are coming too. And I think what you're seeing now is this first pair is like a solidified top pair, obviously. It allows, your Drysdale Sealer, your Zamula Juleson to be slotted against competition that they should be, right? And you're
Yeah.
kind of seeing how that's going to translate. You don't want guys ultimately playing against, talent that they can't really hold their head above water against, right? Like
Yeah.
the longer you have that happening, eventually you're going to have the team kind of
And
break down. So the fact that they could get this defensive lineup back to where they need it to be, I think is great, right?
yeah, I don't like ripping on coaches or GMs or whatever after they leave too much because everything can be changed in hindsight. But the fact that York is getting time on the power play and looking good on it, it's like Tortorella, what were you guys thinking? Like to never give him any power play time when it was so obvious he should have been. And it's nice because
Oh,
even though, Jamie Drysdale is like dedicated power play guy, and then they can ease up on Sanheim's minutes a little bit. And Tocchet said this by giving some of the power play time that Sanheim would be out there for to York, right? Who's also having success, right? And they have three guys who can play the power play and rotate them in. And this is what I was talking about with Zamul or with Andre. There's typically two defensemen who are dedicated per game for the power play. So if you can rotate one of the guys in, and they still play a big role in the PK and still play a big role 5-on-5, it definitely helps a little bit. I do want to talk about the bottom pairing. Obviously, Zamula had his best game of the season the other night.
yeah,
Looked
he looked
looked a
good.
lot better. I agree with what Tocchet is saying about keeping your feet moving. I love how he explains things in his interviews more than Tortorella. It's like I enjoyed Tortorella's like attitude, but it definitely isn't informative. You know what I mean? Tockett's like
Well, it's
really
almost like Tortorella in the interviews. Like it's like, well, I know, and I'm keeping like this is what we should be doing. It's like my secret, but like
right.
Tockett's kind of telling you what the secret is,
Yes, like,
right?
oh, I just want him to move his feet, and you're like, yeah, that dude, you nailed it. That's why I brought up the Bobby Brink, always moving his feet. Something Mitchkov needs to do a little bit more of. Keep your feet moving the entire shift.
80% of hockey just is getting to the next place, making sure you're in the right
Yes,
position.
in motion, right?
Being
You're
able
on
to do
ice.
that, yeah, being able to do that is actively moving your feet, right? So
I
that's the key to everything, really, is a
I
skate.
I also want to give credit to Noah Juleson. He has looked pretty good in the past, especially past couple games. Like the liability that he looked like in the beginning of the season and preseason, I now see why he's like he has it in him to be better.
He's steady Eddie.
He's been
He can,
the physicality I always liked, even though he did mostly was like dirty hits in the
yeah.
beginning. Now it seems like he's picking his targets a little better. He's making some plays offensively. He is playing a defensive role and he's been pretty stable. He probably will be rotated out of the lineup when Risto comes back.
Definitely, yeah. He'll be your number 7, right?
But yeah, it's really nice to know. And actually, like it also makes me think like is Luchenko's time kind of circulated around Risto? Where at that point they will have, they're not going to send Zamula or maybe they'll send Yinning down, I guess. But Yinning has also been pretty good. Like there's no,
Yeah.
he hasn't played. Like Tocchet said, it's like it's not really a shot on anybody. He's like I'm trying to rotate all these guys in, and he's like, I kind of find that if I rotate them in like every other game, you can squeeze a little more out of them, right? They're a
Well, it's
little
a
more
competition
motivated.
thing. It's a competition thing, right? Like these
Yeah.
guys like, hey, I want to get back into the lineup. I want to get my ice time. I don't want to
Right.
be sitting on the bench, right? So like it's a motivating factor. Like, hey, get back in. We sat you for a game, but now we're gonna give you another chance. You play really well. Maybe you're in for the next game, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you're kind of dangling the carrot in front of these seventh defensemen's faces, kind of being like, hey, play well and more games, more
Yeah.
ice time to come. I mean, I think the third pair has been good. I think what this really shows me is when you get Ristolainen back, there's an opportunity to either do Drysdale Ristolainen, and that can be like that's your number 2 pair solidified.
It's an interesting one. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You bring Sealer down, right? Or you can keep Sealer and Drysdale together because they're going to develop chemistry, obviously playing one another or playing together. And you could do Zamula and Ristolainen, and you kind of don't have a third pair. You kind of have a 2A and a 2B, and whatever pair's playing better gets the most ice time, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll see. There's drawbacks and positives to doing it that way, right? Like, but
yeah,
we'll
it's
see what they
it's
make.
interesting you said that because like typically coaches are not going to put a right-handed defender on the left-hand side. One, because right-handed defenders are more rare, so if you have one, you play them in their natural position, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Left-handed defenders, we see that more often than a right-hand defender. But there is a case to be made, depending on Drysdale's play moving forward and what kind of, readiness Risto's in. He's probably going to start off in the bottom pairing just because he's missed so much time. And it'll probably ease him a little bit back in because he's missed so much time. He hasn't been practicing.
I imagine I'll get a conditioning stint too, maybe in the AHL. I
Yeah,
guess we'll
it's
see.
possible too. But there is something to that on paper. The combination of Drysdale and Ristolainen together. And then it allows your bottom pairing to be like a complete shutdown bottom pairing, even if it's, you know, Juleson and Sealer, which
Yeah,
doesn't drive much offense, but it's going to be a very physical shot blocking, like, not a lot of
good
mistakes.
defensively. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, we'll see how they handle it. First, we need to see Risto back, but, you look at that numbers game, with the fact that they're rotating two forwards in and one defenseman when, a surefire NHL top four defenseman comes back into the game. We'll see what happens. There might be other injuries at that point too, but a lot of this is roster management, which I feel like is ignored a lot when this stuff is discussed, or at least not emphasized enough. Maybe not ignored, but not emphasized its importance, especially when it comes to young guys and holding on to young guys or passing guys through waivers that when they're in their early 20s. Because let's say Zamula continues to play that way he's playing, and you do pass him through waivers, there is a chance somebody would take him. I mean, he's an RFA at 1.7 million a year. It's like there is a team out there that might be like, yeah, we'll take a shot on Z. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll keep him as a 7. The only rule is you got to play him in the NHL. You just can't put him in the minors. So it's interesting. We'll see what they continue to do. And Yinning also is also now waiver exempt. So it's going to be interesting what they have to do if the team is all healthy at once. But that almost never happens. So sometimes when I bring this up, it's like pointless. All right, I do want to get into goaltending. Let me just remind everybody, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell for notification, get notified when we release these episodes. And for the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes and give us a rating and a follow as well. That is the best way to support this show. So goaltending. Now this has been a very pleasant surprise. To a degree, there are some people like Dan Silver from our sister podcast, OMB podcast. I heard him or I saw him tweet this out. I thought it was very interesting. He's like, Dan Vladar, and we had Bill Meltzer talk about how well Dan Vladar did play last year. Right now, he looks really damn good. And, probably the best goaltending we've gotten since Carter Hart.
Yeah,
Um,
he's looked consistent.
yeah, I heard people try to say Steve Mason, but they're just downplaying how good Carter Hart was here. Um, but yeah, no, Dan Vladar he's been consistent. He's been aggressive. He's come up with big saves when we need him, which is something Ersson has struggled with. Like he can make the more routine saves, but the big saves, the
The timely
steals,
save is what
yeah, the
he's
big
struggling
steal
with.
saves.
So
I did see a lot of people ripping on Ersson for his last performance, pretending like some of those goals were his fault, and that was like absolute nonsense. The only one that I thought was savable was the Scheifele shot where he had view of it, but then you can also make the argument, hey, it's one of the best players in the world shooting on him. So, but it was like a 50-50 chance save. The rest of them, those were not his fault. It's like one timers. We got to slide all the way across. Flyers didn't play as well in that game, and I feel like Ersson has kind of fallen into that camp a little bit. But there is no doubt at this point that Vladar has played better, and on top of that, he's now getting the starts that way. And we have 2 days off in between the next game. This could lead into another Vladar start. And I don't think it would be that crazy. And then Ersson will get his chance again, you know. And we've
yeah,
seen him better in a backup role when he backed up Carter Hart to begin with. And that will help him get his confidence up. He's also younger, right? He's still at that weird 25-year-old age range for a goalie right before they hit their prime. So I don't know. I think overall it's been very pleasant, and I think Ersson has the opportunity to play a lot better too. And I will say it was very weird to see, at least what we've seen over the past couple of years, to see a Flyers goaltender in like the top five in statistics around the NHL. It's been a breath of fresh air.
yeah. Vladar's stats this season, just to read them off here, they're pretty insane. Sorry, I just had it up here and then it just disappeared on me. No worries.
Well, I will say
Um,
this: he hasn't given up more than 2 goals a game.
no, yeah, so that's what I wanted to mention. So
Yeah,
he's
go
got a
for it.
1.75 goals against average right now, a 929 save percentage. Not shabby, that's for sure. If you're
Yeah,
looking and
for what
comparing,
we've had, that's superstar numbers for
well,
what we've had.
yeah, just think about like, sub 880 save percentages, stuff like that we were dealing with last season.
Yeah.
So this is a night and day turnaround. But yeah, last night, right, he stops 21 to 23, 913 save percentage. He's only allowed 7 goals in 4 games played. Less than 2 goals a game, obviously. There hasn't been any game where there's been more than 2 goals allowed on his end. He's just making the saves he needs to make, making the stops, that he needs to make essentially. Like there hasn't been a point, I would say this season where he's let in like a really weak goal or a goal that you're like, ooh, like that's one that he really needed to have. At the timely moments, he's coming up with those big stops. And that's all you can ask. He's putting the Flyers in positions to win, giving them, chances to win when needed. That's all you can ask from your goaltender, right? He's giving them and keeping them in games when it's been close. Like when, it's been in a tie situation against Florida or even against uh Florida the second time, right? Like both those situations, he's kind of been keeping them in it, even against Minnesota as well. Some pretty timely saves at certain spots where either teams had breakaways or it's a power play and he comes up with the big save. But it just shows too how goaltending can be a big factor in terms of the team's play. Like they seem confident in him. They know that if there's a chance that they let up, like
Mm-hmm.
for example, that breakaway chance last night, like he's going to come up with that big save. So I think it's, adding a level of confidence to the defense and to the forwards that, hey, they can take a chance. They know Vladar is going to be back there to kind of cover for them. And I think for him, he's kind of realizing this is a great opportunity for his career. He's never really had the chance to kind of run away with a starter
Yep.
position in the NHL. I've kind of touted in the past on this podcast that like when he was the starter for Providence in 2019-20 and in 2018, like he had killer numbers, played really well for Providence. In the AHL as a starter, and he's never really had the chance to kind of position himself or challenge for a starting role type of position in the NHL. So sometimes when you get into these situations, right, like something can come about because he realizes himself that, hey, this is my chance to be an NHL starting goalie and really cement myself and kind of take that next step in my career. He's 28. This is really where goalies get into the prime of their career. So I just think for Vladar, he kind of realizes, hey, this is like I'm in my prime. I've had a ton of experience in the AHL. I've experienced being a backup now in the NHL. I have the situation right now in Philadelphia where there's a goalie behind me who's pretty young. He's not really taking the steps forward to cement himself as a starter. So now it's kind of my time to do it, right? So I think
Yeah.
he's kind of taking the challenge and he's hitting the ground running to start the season. You just got to hope that he can kind of keep it going. But to this point, it doesn't seem like there's any reason why he wouldn't, right? Because I think as the games go along and talk keeps deferring to him more, it's just going to add to his confidence level because he's kind of winning the battle right now in terms of this goaltending competition.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy. And I was realizing it last night. I was like, who is the last Czech goalie that the Flyers have had as a starter?
Mrazek, right?
No, it was oh, was it Mrazek? Yeah, maybe it was Mrazek. I was thinking it was Michael Neuvirth. Is Mrazek Russian or Czech?
No, Mrazek's Czech. Yeah.
He is Czech. Okay, so it would be Mrazek, and then before that it was Neuvirth, and then before that was Roman Cechmanek. And the craziest thing about Roman Cechmanek, dude, he has a career 1.96 goals against average
Yeah, really, really,
and a save percentage of 0.923 in the low scoring era, right?
but still,
But
really
still
impressive numbers.
the
And I
lowest
mean,
of
the
any
late
goalie. Only
rest in
goalie under
peace
two.
to Roman Cechmanek, man. Like
Yeah.
he was a great goalie for the Flyers in his
Oh,
time for
right. He
sure.
passed away.
Yeah,
I forgot
shitty.
about that, dude.
Shitty, man.
Yeah.
I one thing I will say about Vladar, like just the last point is even in terms of goals saved above expected, that's like a really good metric to use judging like a goaltender's performance. He's
Mm-hmm.
16th in the league with 2.4 goals saved above expected. So he's saving, the shots that he should save. He's saving certain shots that the metrics and the models are even saying that he shouldn't really save. 2.4 above what would be expected of him. So just in terms of that, like I think over the moon of where the Flyers goaltending situation was to start the season kind of last season versus now. And to touch on Ersson, like I still think there's an opportunity for him to have a good season here. Like he hasn't played great or anything. Like he could have played better, I think, in the performance that he's been in. I think he had a really good showing against Carolina, not the greatest against Winnipeg. A couple goals you might have wanted to have back, but like just in terms of his play, it's not like that Winnipeg game the team played well. Like that was their worst game of the season too. So you can't blame that all on him. He will get back in the net and be able to prove himself again. Still a
Yeah.
very young goalie. So I think you just got to kind of be patient with Ersson. And that would be like, for example, let's say Vladar was in the same situation 3 years ago at 25 with Calgary. You didn't really see Calgary give up on him and kind of ship him out or trade him away, right? Like they kept him. He progressed, looked really good last season, ended up moving on for him, but that wasn't the end of the story for Vladar. It can be a similar thing for Ersson, where he's only 25. There's still room to grow, especially as a goaltender, where goaltenders aren't really hitting their stride till about 28. But yeah, just one final thing too, like Vladar, I think in terms of goals against average, he's fourth in the league, 1.75 goals against average. And his save percentage is eighth in the league, 929 save percentage. So that's pretty wild in terms of the night and day from last
It's
season.
amazing. It's amazing. It's awesome to see, and obviously he's gotten a lot of the fans behind him. And if you guys have watched the Flyers like videos, the that like brick by brick series they're doing, you see how engaged he is talking to the coaching staff, and you can tell he's like really like this is my opportunity. To Vasili's point, and he might have had that opportunity when Wolf showed up in
But
Calgary, but
that was their franchise prospect, so he's never going to get the
right,
same chance, right, or
right,
leeway.
he
Was
was
like
kind of yeah.
there's not that kind of like franchise level goaltending prospect behind
Not
him.
yet, at least.
Yeah, so he's kind of realizing like, hey, for the next couple seasons here, like I can cement
This is
myself
my
and
chance,
be
right?
a starting goalie in this league where he's
Yeah.
never been able to do that yet.
Like
So
Bjarnason is in the minors. Ersson is not secured the net. Kolosov is in the minors.
he's the best option right now in terms
Yeah.
of a viable
And
goaltending.
Zvraggin's over in Russia. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is his opportunity. He's taking it by the horns. It's been amazing to watch. And I don't care who wins goalie as long as he's good.
Yeah,
Like
I agree. I
I
like
don't
both.
care.
I mean, I like both goaltenders for different reasons. Like I think Ersson is a little more flashy in the sense that like since he's smaller, he can be more athletic and like dive across, make those big highlight reel saves. With Vladar, he's bigger, 6'5", so he's never gonna have that like highlight reel save.
I don't know,
Like
man. That open net dive that he had the
no,
other
no,
day
no. He
was
had that too. That like with the stick save, it was great. But I
yeah.
just mean in the sense that like there'll be less opportunity for that because he won't have to dive across the net as much because he's naturally so large.
He does take up a lot of the net. Yeah. He's a
Right. So
big
that's
guy.
that's the thing when you're a bigger goalie, it's easier to obviously make saves, but
I think
sometimes you
he's the
can
biggest
play.
player on the team.
Yeah, he's pretty close, but I think like when you're playing that style when you're a bigger netminder, like there's different ways to get beat, right? Like he covers more of the net, but it's easier for him to sink into his net and then have deeper shot, like have shots go in on him because he's too deep in the net. So there's different things to look at,
Sure.
right? But like I think so far it's a great start. You got to see if he can keep it up because he hasn't really had, this type of workload before where he's been like kind of the starter, but it kind of seems like that's what he's earmarked for, at least for now, based on his play, that they're going to kind of give him the reps as the starter and kind of pepper Ersson in there. And why not, right? Like he's been really hot, he's playing really well. So keep riding the hot goalie until he's not hot anymore. But I would hope that he can continue it consistently, but we'll have to see just because he's never gotten this opportunity before. So it's going to be interesting for the goaltending.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about special teams. Um, I don't know if this is right. I'm looking at quant hockey,
Like
and
what are you trying to find here?
The Flyers are 21.4% on the power play. Is that correct?
I got the stats right here, so let me
Yeah,
just
Paul,
bring them
can you
up.
read out the power play stat?
So right now they are sorry, PK.
Because I thought it was
They
lower than this.
they are 15.8%, 22 in the league, 22nd in the league.
Yeah, I have.
That's
This
based off.
is
Yeah, so
so weird.
I'm off NHL.com, so maybe
Yeah,
Quant isn't updated.
usually they're very well. They would have been. It would have been much lower. It has it. Quan Hockey has them at 15th in the league at 21.4%. Three out of 17. No, out
Yeah,
of 14. Three out of
that's
14.
yeah, that's wrong. So they're
Yeah,
22nd in the league right now,
that's what I thought.
15.8, 15.8%. They're tied with the Islanders, who are 21st, 15.8%. Boston's 20th with
But
16%.
they did more than double their success rate in one game. So it just shows what, early season stats are for you. But let's talk about the power play in general. Obviously, it was their best power play game of the season. 2 goals.
Yeah, they
Even
looked good
though
last
on
night.
paper, even though their percentage was horrendous prior, they did have some highlight moments of the power play.
Visually, they looked okay, like moving the
Yes.
puck, but just couldn't capitalize,
And
right?
well, what I think has really helped them is that both units look good too. So when one isn't showing up, the other one, which obviously has the Kate's line on it, they're just like they might not be as high impact of a unit. Maybe adding Zegras changes that, but they are consistent in their approach and their behavior. And they obviously have like either Sandheim or York on the point as well. So two strong units could lead to better success. We finally got a hint of that when they're not playing a top team. But if they really want to be a playoff team, they're going to have to move into like that 15 and 15th in the league territory. We've talked about this over and over again.
Yeah, I think their sweet spot is like 20th to 15th. I think if they can get the power play, like after, let's say, 3 months from now, we're looking at it and we're like, well, the Flyers power play 17th or something after like a ton of attempts and
It'd be
it's firmly,
huge.
firmly cemented himself in that
Yeah.
position. And they can stay because right now the PK is 10th in the league. If they can keep the PK top 10, I think they'll be pretty close to being on the bubble at that point. For what I see, like last game, like I thought the power play movement was really good. Um, you know, For a couple games though, it's been visually good. So I think we're finally starting to see them get rewarded a bit just in terms of like capitalizing, obviously. Forster's goal there on the power play, like he ripped that really good play. Then obviously Cates, gets to score too. It just shows that the second unit's kind of producing really well. And to your point, I think it just creates options for you, right? Because let's say one unit's going, another unit's not. You stick with the unit that is going, but then the next game it can be tough for a team to prepare because might not be sure what unit might be taking the ice, which one's going to be the one that's going to get the like, majority of the reps for the power play. So it can be tough for teams to defend when you have two units that are kind of clicking.
Hmm.
I do like the fact that Tocchet's kind of keeping it with the 5-on-5 lines, like essentially on the power play. Like I think that's going to add to
More consistent. Yeah.
increased chemistry, easier to find guys. You kind of know where guys are because you're playing with them at 5-on-5. So when you have that extra man, it should be an advantage to you, right? You know where your line mates are going to be because you play with them all the time 5-on-5. Now you got an extra, body on the ice. You should even be able to capitalize even more. So I
Yeah.
see I see the approach, I see the strategy. So we'll kind of just see if it continues, but it's a good
Yeah.
building block game, right?
Yeah. I think if Michkov can get, and he's looked better, right? And he's had some scoring opportunities finally. Like over the past couple games, he's definitely looked a lot better than he did in the first,
Yeah. That TK
3 to 4
goal, I
games.
mean, that's all him. If he doesn't make that pass
Right.
as a goal, they don't score that.
Yeah,
So
he was definitely showing a lot more offensively. So once he gets going, there is a chance that this power play thing is not a
yeah.
fluke. And if they want to hover
Also,
around 20%, that he's going to be a big part of it. And obviously
one
Zegras as well.
one thing I want to mention too, just like power play aside, just like offense in general, you have to be encouraged with like the offensive production from the forwards, I think as a whole. And this is without Michkov really
Goals
clicking.
for, they're 14th in the league
That's
per
pretty
game.
good. It's pretty good. And goals against obviously is they're up. They must be right up there too, just based
Let me.
off Vladar's performances. But
They are 10th,
yeah, so that's pretty good, right? Like
2.67.
if you can keep 14th around middle of the pack, goals for 10th, in terms of goals against, like that's obviously ideal. You're going to be well on your way to being a really good team this season. But what I wanted to say is that like they're scoring at this capacity, and Matvey Michkov hasn't been going. Like he hasn't
Yeah.
been clicking. He hasn't been their best player offensively. That's encouraging to me because he only has
Same with
2 points.
TK,
Yeah,
right?
right. They're two best offensive players for last season. Like Michkov, 2 points in 6 games. Konechny, 3 points in 6 games are not clicking yet at the level we know they can. And they've played really well to this point. So that's really encouraging because
It
when
actually,
some players fall off and they inevitably rise to the top, it's going to be like a perfect timing type of thing, right? Where they pick up some of that slack. So I
yeah.
think it's a good
That's
thing.
like the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that the lines continue to click, right? And they'd get better, and then the Flyers could potentially have like a top 10
Kind of offense, yeah.
offense in the league. You're never going to look at their defense on paper and be like, "Oh, they're a top 10 defense in the league," just because of the names on it. Even if they play better as a unit and they have better numbers, you're still not throwing that combination of players out there and going, "Oh, this is an insane group," right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the offense with all the young skill on there in combination with good veterans, it can be a really dangerous offense. It's not going to be one that's going to be like, oh, it's Colorado, it's Dallas, but it is, you think about Forrester, you think about Mitchkov, you think about Zegras, Brink, Cates, all these guys are like, Tippett, mid-20s, and you have TK, Couturier, who seems to be on a renaissance, right? You look at this group and you're like, this is a pretty dangerous top nine. And then you look at the fourth line with Gabrankin and Luchenko and Hathaway. It's a dangerous forward group that I think is a big reason why they've been successful. Is that it's tough to play against this group, this offensive group. It's like your defense needs to be on its game every shift because one of these lines can find a way to beat you. And they didn't necessarily, definitely didn't have that after they traded, Farabee and Frost, and they were already kind of teetering on the edge of that anyway at that point. So like this is probably the best offensive core they've had in
In a while.
years.
Yeah.
Like imagine if Claude Giroux and Jake Voracek in their prime had this type of lineup behind them. They would have been a very deadly offense. So if, Michkov can elevate his game to where we know he can be, and Zegras can take another step, right? And Forrester
It's
and all these
encouraging.
guys,
Yeah, it's encouraging.
you're talking about a forward group that like is as of right now highly underestimated around the league. And I remember listening
Well,
to SDPN and how they've been talking of how good the Leafs are going to be. And the whole time I'm sitting there listening, I'm like, you guys are going to have a hard time playing against the Flyers. I'll tell you that much because they were like talking about how the Flyers aren't very good. I was like, we'll see when they play each other because like I look at the Leafs offense and I'm like, I see a lot of holes in that lineup, and I look at the Flyers, I'm like, it's a deeper top 12.
it's a more offense by committee. Like there's,
Yes.
like there you
More
might
like
not
St.
have.
Louis was when they won.
Well, yeah, you're not gonna have you don't have your upper echelon like Matthews, Nylander per se at this
Right.
point. Mitchkov might turn into one of those guys, perhaps. And
He will.
Zegras, you're hoping to obviously can maybe get back to those levels. But you got, guys on the third line like Cates, Brink, Forster, like the Leafs don't have that type
They're
of third
playing like a
line.
second line in the NHL right
Yeah,
now. They're
yeah.
not they're not playing like a third
So
line,
I
you
just
know.
think it's really encouraging. Like the forwards, the power play, they've been scoring a lot. Like obviously the power play hasn't scored a lot since the last game. I mean, but they've looked good offensively, this group, and I think it's encouraging because some of the top guys haven't really hit the stride yet. So
Yeah.
like it's gonna get even better. And just the shift now over to the PK, like we're kind of seeing a resurgence in terms of where it was 2 years ago, right? Like 2 years ago, the Flyers PK is top 10
It
so
was
far
like
to start this
number one in the
season.
league
Yeah, top
at
five,
points.
something like that. But
It
so
finished top
far,
five, but it was number one for a good stretch of the season, if I remember correctly.
yeah, 2 years ago, yeah. But yeah, so
Yeah.
far through the 6 games, right, 83.3%, 10th in the league. I don't think the PK at any point this season has really been like, oh no, they've burned them. They've gotten a good amount of kills in. They have let in some power play goals. It's obviously going to happen, but you haven't pointed to a certain game or anything and been like, wow, the PK went 0 for 5 and really crushed them. They couldn't get a stop. A
Right.
big part of the PK looking better is the goalies look better.
Vladar. Yeah.
When your goalies are playing well, that's your, most valuable penalty killer. I have liked the fact that we're seeing Sean Couturier back on the penalty kill in a more prominent role this season.
hmm
I don't see why he wasn't in that role the last couple of seasons,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
that's neither
Tortorella,
here nor there.
two weird hangups with Tortorella, York and
Couturier,
Couturier, and they don't make any sense.
because they're both really good players.
Yes. And good
But
defensively.
yeah, so I just think, with Couturier kind of back on the PK, goaltending looking better, not surprising to me that they're kind of returning back to the, form from 2 seasons ago. So it's just a keep it up thing, right? If they can keep it up and keep this PK in the top 10, and then you get the power play, between the 15-20 range, like we talked about, you're going to be well on your way to, being on the bubble for challenging,
Yeah.
to be a playoff team for the remainder of the season here. So it's a great start in terms of special teams, right? Like I think
Well,
if you would have said after 6 games they were in both these positions, power play and penalty kill, we would have taken it. So
what do we say for the past 3 years? That the things that were killing this team the most were goaltending and power play.
yeah,
And we've seen promising results on both of those.
so far, yeah.
So if they,
But it's early. It's early. They
yeah,
gotta
it's
keep it
very early.
going.
Yes. Some teams that are on fire right now will not be on fire, as the season rolls on. But if they can continue trending in this direction with both of those and keep the PK where it is, they will definitely be in the wild card spot. Like, I know Detroit's 5-1 right now. I don't know if they're a 5-1 team. They did beat Toronto twice to start the
No,
season. They beat all good teams. They
I
beat
will
all good
say,
teams.
for Detroit, like, think about how long they've been building that thing. Like, after a
Right.
while, you think at some
They
point it's
break
gonna come to
through. Right.
fruition, right?
Right.
So,
I just don't know if they're like an unbeatable force, right? Like
no, I don't know about
Car-
unbeatable, but
Carolina didn't lose a game in regulation. They played Vegas last night and
I
lost,
wouldn't
right?
be
So it's
surprised if this is the finally the year where like they make the playoffs. So,
yes, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised either. Um, the
just
team I
so
actually
many of
think
the
is
young guys, so many of the young guys now in Detroit, like are prominent roles in the lineup. Like Raymond had an 80-point season last season. He's still
he's a
looking
great
good.
player. Yeah,
Like Sider's looking really good. They have Sandin Pellikka now's finally like on their defensive core. So
stud
you're
young
seeing all the
defenseman.
guys that
Yeah,
they've been drafting are finally like
yeah, and
in
and that's
prominent roles. That's same kind of similar thing with the
with the
Flyers, right?
Flyers, right? We're a little behind Detroit. We're probably like just like we're a little behind Montreal. I think we're like a year behind them.
But you're starting to see those draft picks come to
Yes,
fruition, right?
yes.
Well, look at like, for example, like Montreal. you see Cole Caulfield. Look at the Flyers. You got Brink in a prominent role. You got York in a prominent role. The trade's not looking so bad now, is it?
Right.
Right. So
The draft, you mean?
yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, no, absolutely. I still people see everybody freaking out every time Caulfield scores a goal as if that
Well, I
matters
meant
at
the
any
trade
point.
in the sense of like you traded down, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
True, true. Oh yeah, it was a trade. You're right. You're right. That's a good point. Okay. Let's get into the final segment where we talk about young guys. We're going to talk about this not for that long, but I do want to talk about the Phantom. So, I do follow Bob Roadtruck a little bit. I also have a relationship with him, but he did have a nice tweet saying that the best start the Phantoms have had in modern history was 2012-13. They opened up the season 4-1. Currently, the Phantoms are 3-1. So they haven't necessarily hit that quite yet. But Alexei Kolosov has 2 wins, one of which was a shutout. His numbers have been very good. He's like at a 1 goal a game pace with like a 9.96 something save percentage. Excellent start for him. Bjarnason also with pretty good numbers, also like a two. I think it's like a 2.4 or something goals against, and save percentage above 900 as well. But the team has been kind of rocking and rolling. They played 4 games so far. Devin Kaplan has 2 goals, 2 assists. Very impressive start for him. Anthony Richard's got 2 goals, 2 assists in 4 games. Carson Dorwart's got 2 goals, 1 assist in 4 games. Andre has 3 assists in 3 games. Bump, a goal and assist. He had that ridiculous through the leg setup. I
Yeah,
know
that was
you saw that,
disgusting.
Vasili. Denver Barkey's got a goal and assist. Garrett Wilson's got 2 assists. Cooper Maruti's got 2 assists.
A
Gendron's
lot
got
of the
two
young
assists.
guys seems like starting out really well with the Phantoms.
Yes, sir. So they've started off really strong. Obviously, a lot more for them to go, but so far, John Snowden seems to be taking this team in a direction. It showed it's kind of, we needed a coach change in that spot, and so far, it's been going
Oh,
well.
I think it's warranted, right? Like how many times have we looked at the Phantoms lineup over the last couple of years where we're like, LaPerriere has a lot to work with here and he's not getting the results out of them. And we're seeing them kind of hit the ground running to start off. So maybe that is kind of what they needed is that coaching change to kind of put things into perspective and kind of implement things in a different way. I think the big thing for the Phantoms that's like maybe the major thing is Alexei Kolosov, right? Like starting off 969 save percentage, 1.0 goals against average, 2-0 in 2 games played to
Hmm.
start. He looks awesome. But I can't remember who I saw this from online. So shout out to whoever it was, somebody in the Flyers media sphere. But they just commented on the fact that Kolosov seems like much more engaged, apparently, in the Phantoms locker
I
room, like
think it's Kurz,
laughing.
Kevin
Oh,
Kurz.
it might have been Kevin Kurz, yeah. So shout out to him. But nonetheless, like yeah, it was reported that Kolosov just looks a lot more engaged in the locker room, like more happy with his teammates, kind of he seems more like a part of the team and like a guy that realizes, hey, if I want to kind of get to where I need to be, I kind of need to assimilate myself and kind of take my lumps here, be a member of this team, play well, and then kind of see where it goes. But I think just the fact that he's kind of accepted his role, and is kind of willing to be where he is and kind of just be a good teammate, and kind of show his skill. I think that's a great thing because the last couple seasons it doesn't seem like he was
Hmm.
really interested in doing any of that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's been a big difference. And then having Bjarnason behind him is perfect, right?
Yeah,
With
two
like a
two solid
young,
goaltenders.
yeah, and having a young prospect who's like coming, already playing well in the minors. So it's a really good sign. The Flyers really need the Phantoms to be a great team. They've been like a middle of the road team for
Yeah.
a few years under Lappy, and so far they're having a
Well,
great start, and they look like a team that could make a Calder run, at least on paper.
yeah, they have a deep team, especially too now you added like a guy like Grunstrom, who's like an all-star level type player at the
Yeah,
AHL in
no
terms of
points though. I
offensive.
was surprised in 4 games.
Yeah, yeah. But then and you got have like Maruti and stuff. So like they got a ton of depth, a lot
And
of
Richard's like a
veterans.
superstar down there.
Yeah, exactly. I will say like the big thing, just with having like the Phantoms become like an Calder type contender every season is like we see, look at Tampa, right? Like Syracuse Crunch. Look at what is it? Look at Hershey Bears, right, in Washington and kind of how they filtered that farm system into their team.
Toronto.
Toronto with the Marlins. When you have a good, you know,
minor league team, you can start to filter a lot of younger guys from that team who've had success into your main team, and it's almost
Yeah.
like a seamless thing, right? So that's all I think the goal for the Flyers, and it's a great start, and hopefully they can kind of continue and progress towards that. So
Yeah. And right now Toronto's like scratching Easton Cowan. It's like I'm so glad we're not doing like what Toronto is doing with like Denver Barkey, and that
Yeah.
he's down there playing and he's been really good for the Phantoms too. He's playing top line. The lines you see on the screen, they're not exact because I didn't feel like creating the other players. Like I
Yeah,
oddly,
yeah.
Zayd Wisdom has been playing fourth line center, which is interesting. It's really just Tucker Robertson hasn't played much and Oscar Eklund hasn't played much. Massimo Rizzo has been sent to the ECHL. That's how deep this Phantoms
well,
roster is offensively.
he's just not gonna play, obviously, because there's better options. So they're like, hey, we
Like,
might as well
yeah,
play you somewhere.
yeah. Robertson can't make the lineup. Eklund can't make the lineup. They're that good. The young guys are leading the way over there. Tuamala has not
You
found
know
his
what
game
though?
yet.
It's a good thing though in terms of the depth because they'll have injuries and some of these guys like Eklund and stuff will be
Yeah,
able to plug in
and
seamlessly.
Bump
So
has 10 shots in 4 games.
yeah,
Only one goal, but
He'll get his call up too, right? At some point
yes.
here. So
Yeah, that's why I was saying that about Luchenko. There's Bump, there's Barkey. I don't know what's going to happen with Tuamala at this point. There's Kaplan
yeah.
down there. There's Dorwart, who's doing really well, who plays center
These are all
as
good
well.
problems to have in terms of the depth, right? The
Right.
more depth, the better. So it's looking good for the Phantoms.
Yeah. And Dorwart's 4 years older than Luchenko, right? So it's like something's gonna have to break though. Part of me wants Luchenko with the team all year because I know people are gonna get injured and all that, but I also
Good
want him to
learning
be
experience.
I
Yeah.
want him to be developed properly, as much as possible. And I think I'm okay with their strategy right now. I really am. The one odd outlier, I did want to talk about this. We know Ethan Sampson is injured for a considerable amount of time. He will be back and he'll be a big weapon for the Phantoms. But the big name missing right now is Oliver Bonk. And the last update I could find is that on October 1st, it is now October 21st, that it was 2 weeks for him to come back. We have not heard anything about him so far, which is really a shame because there's a good chance that he's going to be like their second best defenseman, to start the
Yeah.
season with Andre. And he is, nowhere to be found right now.
Well,
And obviously they're missing two right-handed D-men. It's a big loss for the Phantoms also, but we really want to see Bonk play. I don't know where he's at.
yeah, you just gotta hope he can get back in soon. Hopefully there's an update. I mean, the ideal thing is let's hopefully like see him in action by mid-November because if it gets past that point, you're almost getting your first pro season lost. And in terms of development, that's not great, right?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully he's on the verge of coming back. We just haven't heard anything about him because he's out of
Yeah,
sight,
maybe
out
he's
of mind.
close. Maybe he's close and the team knows that. So like we're not gonna really give an update until he's just back at this point, but
Yeah.
we'll have to see.
Plus, I haven't heard anybody ask, right? Like, there's
Too
no
bad
press.
we're not there. I would
Right.
ask.
Well, there's no presser with Briere as of
Yeah.
right now. Next press conference, I would hope that that's asked to him. And then prospect updates. We'll make this quick. But there are some I guess big performers right now. Vasily, are you okay with me taking lead on this?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So Max Westergaard, this past year's late pick, absolutely dominating the under 20 league for the SHL. He has been way too good for that league. He has 4 goals, 11 assists in 7 games. He's 2.14 points per game. So he got moved up to the SHL. He has no points. He's probably playing a bottom line role there as like a grinder. So no points. This is what happens. It's a little deceiving with a lot of these guys when they get called up because they're not necessarily put in like offensive opportunities so much that they don't produce really. But he's clearly way too good, and he's only 18 years old because he's also very young for his draft class, just like Luchenko. Too good to be playing in the age appropriate league at this point. Just filthy domination. Nathan Quinn also this past draft year is crushing it right now. Nathan Quinn 11 points in 11 games, 5 goals, 6 assists in the queue for Quebec Ramparts. So obviously doing very well there. Jack Nesbitt had a 3-point night the other night. He's got 8 points in 8 games. He was not a point per game player last year. He's got 3 goals, 5 assists. Ilya Pautov has moved up to the VHL which is really good. He's been playing in the MHL for a while. He's got 3 points in 9 games there, so adjusting. He had no points in the first like 5 games, I think. So he's been getting better over there. Porter Martone, the big name that we're all talking about. This maybe we should take a minute. So he had a goal and assist the other night, a fight, scrappy, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points in 4 games for his first 4 college hockey games. That also does not count. I think he had a 3 point night in the preseason as well. So he is over a point per game right now at the NCAA level, which is a very good start for a young guy who's adapting to a new league. I'm interested to see how his season goes, and I kind of expect his scoring pace to increase as the season goes on. Anything you want to say about Porter Martone? I don't want to skip past him without you having a chance to say something.
What was that? Sorry.
I said anything you want to add on Porter Martone. I don't want to skip past him. If you want to say something.
No, no, that's okay.
Okay. So Matthew Guard, also putting up again, very bad team for the Red Deer Rebels, but he's a +2, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points in 6 games. Went through Kaplan. Cole Knubel, 2 goals, 2 assists, continuing what he did last year, point per game in 4 games. He's got 4 points. Austin Moline, 4 points in the U.S. Hockey League in 8 games, 1 goal, 3 assists. Santeri Soku, he's been kind of splitting his time between Liga, their men's league, and the Mestis, the I guess their AHL, their development league. In the Mestis, he's got 2 goals, 1 assist in 3 games. In the Liga, he has no points in 3 games, but it's good that he's being moved into the upper league. Alex Siernik over in Liga. I guess this is better than where he was playing in the Allsvenskan league before this, so like a half a step below. So in Liga, he's got 3 points in 14 games so far, 1 goal, 2 assists. Jack Berglund, also in the SHL, also too good for the under 20 league. He had 3 assists in 2 games, so he's been elevated, also playing a bottom role there. No points in 8 games, which is kind of why I brought that up about Westergaard. Shane Van Sagi, goal and assist. I think he had a goal last game. Goal and assist in 4 games. So teammate of Porter Martone, doing pretty well. Jack Murtagh, also new to NCAA, his rookie year. He's got a goal and assist. He is a -3 so far, but he scored a beautiful goal the other night. Let me see. Anybody else worth bringing up? Noah Powell, 1 goal in 6 games in the NCAA for Arizona State.
So another tough start for him in the NCAA.
Yeah, I think he's just gonna realize that he's gonna be a bottom 6 guy in the league, kind of like Devin Kaplan. I think he wants to be like a goal scorer, but he probably will need to change his methodology. Yeah, you're gonna be more of a grinder, like he was playing in NCAA last time. Steve was telling us all about it. Luke Vluswick, another pick from this past year. Obviously, he spent a good amount of time with the Flyers, +4 on Red Deer with Matthew Guard, 1 assist in 8 games. Anybody else worth bringing up? Spencer Gill in 2 games has no points. A little surprising. Carter Amico in 5 games has no points. Also plays for Boston University. They lost to Porter Martone's team the other night. He's been a -3. So also, he was injured for a good amount of time. It's probably going to take him a minute. Heike Rahonen has not started a game yet, so that's a big prospect we're waiting to see. And then goaltending, the creme de la creme. Yegor Zavragin has played 7 games in the KHL so far. He's got a 2.45 goals against average and a .928 save percentage. He's with 1 shutout. He's 3-4 to start the season. He has 1 game in the VHL this year at a .97 goals against and a .964 save percentage. So way too good for the minor leagues in Russia, but still having very good numbers. And I did see his comparison as of right now, his statistical comparison of what he's doing at the KHL at the same age does equate to Yegor Shesterkin and Sorokin still. So very good news on that front. Anything you want to add with prospects? Any comments before we end this show, Vasili?
No, it's a good rundown. It's still pretty early, so we'll have more updates obviously as the season goes along.
Yeah, not too. The stats are kind of weird because they're all short, small
Yeah.
samples. So,
Yeah.
but we'll do these periodically. Next time, Vasily and I will split them up because I kind of did it weird with the AHL first and then prospects. We
It's all
don't
good.
typically do that.
No worries.
Um, okay. Anything you want to leave our audience with before we go?
Yeah, just everybody make sure to check out flyersnittygritty.com. Tons of great content going up on the website, so please give the articles a read.
Yeah. And also just a reminder, everybody listening, and if you made it this far, please, 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 like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on YouTube. If you have not done that so far, we truly appreciate it. If you could share it out, that'd be a big help as well. For the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes and give us a rating and a follow as well. Humbly, humbly appreciate if you guys could do that for us. Again, the best way to support Vasily and myself and Flyers Nitty Gritty. If you're a regular listener to the content or you just caught us for the first time. And also shout out to our sponsors, Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Make sure to go get yourself a cheesesteak from Jim's. They have one of the best, if not the best, cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Shout out to Summit Public Adjusters. I forgot to stop sharing my screen. Shout out to Summit Public Adjusters, 215-752-0560. Go to them for your insurance adjustment needs. They will help facilitate the process between you and your insurance company. Make sure you get the best claim possible. And shout out to sportspider.com. They are our partners. They aggregate sports content from all over the internet, every sport, articles, videos, podcasts, everything like that. The link to them is in the description of both the video and audio versions of this show. Again, sportspider.com. Vasily, thank you as always for being awesome. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody listening. We love you guys. And remember, always stay